Chapter 1, The Sonic Wasteland. The jump should have been a perfectly calculated sequence of 0-point shifts. It should have been silent. It was anything but. The moment the Odyssey's pearlescent hull materialized in the discordant verse, a cacophony of jarring frequencies tore through the ship's shields, rattling the very bones of the vessel. The air shrieked, a high-pitched whine like 1,000 rusty nails scraping across a chalkboard, punctuated by a deep, pulsing bass that vibrated through the floor plates. Oracle's eyes, a shifting kaleidoscope of prismatic light, narrowed behind her helm. Her internal diagnostic systems were screaming. Input data, incoherent. Threat vector, unknown. Energy signature, illogical. She saw the world outside the viewport, not as a map, but as a corrupted soundscape, a perversion of logic and order. The sky pulsed with a sickly, dissonant orange, and the horizon was a jagged silhouette of twisted metal and concrete that wailed with a mournful, synthetic hum. The air itself hummed with a palpable, unsettling thrum. This is a living paradox, her mind calculated. A system that has been taught to lie. Jaxon, the team's pragmatic navigator, clutched Xur head, the fine silver lines of Xur's suit flickering with a wild, erratic frequency that mirrored the ship's warning lights. Xur movements, usually precise and economical, were now stilted and unsure. Director, my analytical framework is being corrupted, Z said, Xur voiced a low hum of static. I can't map a single coherent causality. It's an algorithm built on chaos. At the back of the deck, Maya, the team's chronicler, stood silently by the viewport. Her pangender form was in a constant state of subtle flux, her iridescent scales and bioluminescent markings shifting and changing as she took in the scene. Her body was not being broken down by the noise. She was simply absorbing it, her face a mask of profound empathy and sadness. She was a master empath, and she was experiencing the world's pain as if it were her own. Oracle's hands, adorned with sleek cybernetic implants, moved with the precision of a surgeon. We are not here to map the chaos, Jaxon, Oracle said, her voice a calm and confident counterpoint to the maelstrom of noise. We are here to mend it. Her outward demeanor was one of serene, focused purpose, but inside, her mind was in a state of cognitive friction. She, a former Legion agent who believed in logic and data, was tasked with healing a realm broken by emotion, impure, discordant energy. My power is a symphony of order. It thrives on structure, logic, and predictability. Asterisk her thoughts fired in a continuous, predictable hum. The fact that she was here, in a world that defied her very nature, was the most profound irony of her life. She was a pragmatic prodigy and the founder of the Keepers, a team dedicated to, quote, stabilizing a fractured multiverse. She believed that to heal a fractured reality, one must first understand it. But here, in this place, the understanding she possessed felt useless. She looked away from the viewport and activated a personal comm. Kronos, Kairos, I know you're here. My systems registered a temporal and probabilistic anomaly on arrival. Show me your position. A low-level hum of data and time signature echoes came back, but no direct reply. Oracle knew why. The philosophical conflict, the internal resistance to trust, had already begun. They were not enemies. They were former co-workers in a failing organization. But the wounds of the quantum genesis were fresh, and the fear of the old Legion ways still hung in the air. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the kaleidoscopic light from her irises flare and dim. The math is the math. This is a big problem, but all big problems are just a series of small, hard-to-find bugs, asterisk, she thought. Her internal monologue a constant loop of pragmatic self-coaching. She had her team, she had her mission, and now she had a shared past to overcome. The journey had truly begun. The discordant verse. Chapter 2. A crack in the Kronos. Perspective. Kronos and Kairos. The air solidified around them, no longer the metaphysical static of the Tempest Schisma, but something new, something with a density and a weight that was alien yet familiar. Kronos felt the thrum of his temporal armor return, the faint blue-green lines on his gauntlets pulsing with renewed life. His mask, once a shifting blur of uncertainty, snapped back into its perfect, calibrated form. The feeling was a profound physical relief, a recalibration of his very being. The constant threat of non-existence had vanished, replaced by the reassuring weight of his own power. He ran a diagnostic. Protocol. Re-engagement. Status. Optimal. Kairos' own transformation was more dramatic. He gasped. A long, rattling breath, as his suit's flickering silver lines locked into a flawless repeating pattern. The torrent of contradictory futures and paradoxical timelines that had been assaulting his mind abruptly ceased. He pulled his probability pulsars from their holsters. The barrels hummed, no longer limp and useless, but charged with purpose. He held a hand out, a small, intricate web of data shimmering in the air above his palm. It was a statistical model of their immediate surroundings, a map of probabilities where none had existed before. "The data is clean," he whispered, a tremor of pure, unadulterated joy in his voice. "It's quantifiable. We are no longer lost." Kronos, ever the pragmatist, was already moving. His gauntlets hummed, and a temporal shear opened in the fabric of the air itself, a clean, silent cut that allowed him to peer into the past of this new realm. He saw nothing, only a void, a clean slate. "We're in a new pocket domain," he stated, his voice devoid of the raw emotion that had just gripped his partner. "A clean slate. We can choose to be what we need to be now." A sudden chime interrupted their assessments. A transmission, but unlike any they had ever received. It was not a Legion protocol, nor was it the chaotic burst of a wildcard attack. It was a clear, calm, authoritative voice, and it was addressed to them by name. "Kronos, Kairos, I know you're here. My systems registered a temporal and probabilistic anomaly on arrival. Show me your position." Kairos' head snapped up. His eyes, visible through the helmet's visor, were wide. "A new variable," he murmured. "Her signal. It's a perfect countersignal. A temporal and probabilistic countersignal." He raised a hand, his pulsars humming. "She knows we're here. A Legion operative. A ghost from a failed mission," Kronos spat, the word Legion a bitter taste in his mouth. He did not need a scan to know who the voice belonged to. Oracle, the one who had ascended beyond their understanding, the one who had tried to play by the old rules and had seemingly come out on top. He had seen her rise, and he had seen the results of her failure. "She is not a Legion operative anymore, Kronos. The data, it says her code has been rewritten. Her mission is a new one, a restoration. We are no longer constrained by the old rules, and neither is she," Kairos said, the hint of excitement in his voice a jarring contrast to Kronos' cold dismissal. He was, as always, an analyst first, a soldier second. He was dependent on data coherence, and Oracle's transmission provided a tantalizing new stream. He moved to respond. "Hold," Kronos commanded. He reached for a small, precise tool on his gauntlet. A temporal probe. The probe, a translucent dart of compressed time, shot out and struck Oracle's signal. It was a non-invasive, theoretical scan designed to analyze a target's history and intentions without their knowledge. The probe's data returned instantly. The analysis was chillingly simple. Origin, Oracle. Affiliation, Legion. Former. Purpose, unknown. The data is a lie, Kairos. It tells us nothing new. It only confirms what we already know, Kronos said, a quiet fury building within him. Her words are a perfect fiction. She wants to be trusted, but her history is a testament to the old ways, the ways that broke us. He wanted to be rid of her, to be free from the ghosts of their past. Her history is irrelevant. The data is what matters. She's a new variable. Kronos. We have to analyze her to find out what she's truly capable of, Kairos countered, the two of them, as always, in perfect opposition. Kronos, a monument to their past failures, and Kairos, a visionary of their future. A fresh message arrived, a simple, declarative sentence. "I am not Legion, but you are. The question is, for how long?" Kronos' hand fell from his calm. He felt his cold facade crack for a nanosecond, replaced by raw, unquantifiable fear. The fear was not for their lives, but for his own sense of self. Oracle had not threatened them. She had questioned them. And in doing so, she had found the one weakness they still shared, their one failing, the truth of their shared history. He looked at Kairos, whose eyes were no longer panicked but curious. He was the analyst, the one who was meant to ask the questions, not be asked them. He had been reborn in a universe of pure chaos, and now he was being challenged by a woman who was a walking paradox. Kronos gave a slow, measured nod. He still did not trust her. He would not. But she had opened a door, and his core, a sound of an internal calibration, told him that to ignore it would be to fail all over again. "Send her our location. We will meet with her. We will listen." He did not add, "We will not trust her," but the words hung in the air between them, a final, unsaid promise. The negotiation had begun. Coordinate verse, Chapter 3, The Root and the Shifting Shadow. Scene Y, The Journey, Perspective, Maya. The ground beneath my feet was a jarring dissonance, a canvas of cold, cracked concrete and rebar that sang with a low, mournful synth bass. My pangender form, in a constant state of subtle flux, shifted to match my surroundings. My iridescent scales and bioluminescent markings dimmed to a dull, urban gray, allowing me to blend in with the desolate cityscape. I was a chameleon in a world of muted despair, my empathic senses absorbing the collective loneliness of this place. Oracle had been precise. They're in the city of neon and despair. It's a psychological battlefield that drains the will. Your empathy, Maya, is a shield. Beside me, Elias moved with a quiet, rooted grace. Their bigender form, a fusion of wood, bark, and flowing green leaves, was a stark contrast to the sterile, lifeless landscape. They didn't seem to notice the oppressive sadness in the air. Their mind was a library, and they were here to read. Elias was a chronicle keeper, their body a conduit for a planet's history. They came from a world with a profound, organic connection to its past, and they embodied that ancient wisdom. They are in a state of shock, Elias's gentle voice hummed, their roots lightly skimming the ground. Their timelines are a void. To them, we are from the future, a future they never saw. Perspective, Elias. The history of this realm was a song of unimaginable sadness. My roots, a network of sentient fibers, reached out and connected with the very land. I felt a cacophony of lost voices, forgotten dreams, and a profound, collective isolation. My powers, a form of historical resonance, allowed me to absorb a universe's past directly from the soil, instantly translating it into a stream of pure data. I saw this world's story not in years, but in emotions and forgotten memories. I understood Oracle's choice. Kronos and Kairos would see a plant, a fragile thing of wood and leaf. They would not see me as a living archive, a rooted historian carrying the weight of a decade's worth of suffering and triumph. We were the opposite of their legion training. We were not about imposing order. We were about understanding the story. I felt Maya's sadness. This is not our pain, my friend, I whispered, our mental link a quiet, reassuring hum. We are only the witnesses. We must be strong for them. They have been alone. Scene 2, the confrontation. We found them in a desolate, forgotten alleyway, nestled between two buildings that wailed a continuous, synthetic hum. Kronos' matte gray temporal armor and Kairos' pristine white suit were a beacon of cold, clinical order in a world of chaos. They had their probability pulsars and temporal gauntlets at the ready, a clear sign they were not here for peaceful negotiation. State your purpose, Kronos commanded, his voice formal and cold. Oracle sent you. Are you messengers, or are you a distraction? We are neither, Maya said, her form shifting to a more humanoid shape. Her iridescent scales gave way to skin, and her bioluminescent markings glowed with a soft, friendly light. Her empathy, a power even she didn't fully understand, allowed her to mirror the emotions of those around her. She was a shifting chronicler, a shapeshifter who could perfectly mimic the emotional core of any being they encountered. We are storytellers, Elias added, their voice a quiet counterpoint. And we have a story to tell you. The two guardians looked at each other, their confusion palpable. They had prepared for a fight, not a conversation. Perspective, Kronos. My internal processors were screaming. The two beings before me defied every logical principle I had ever known. The plant-like entity was a walking library of a history I could not access. The other was a chameleon, a mirror that reflected not a physical image but an emotional state. They were storytellers, not soldiers. They were an illogical variable that I had not accounted for. We have our own data, I stated, a lie I repeated to myself to keep my core intact. We know what has transpired. You don't need to tell us anything. Perspective, Kairos. Kronos was lying. The data we had gathered was meaningless. But these two beings, the rooted historian and the shifting chronicler, they were a new stream of information. I had spent a decade in a universe of pure data, and now I was face to face with beings who embodied that data in a way I couldn't comprehend. Show us, I said, a tremor of pure, unadulterated curiosity in my voice. Show us the data we are missing. Scene 3, the unseen tapestry. Maya took a deep breath. Her body began to shift and warp, not into a physical form, but into a narrative. She took on the subtle postures and facial expressions of a frightened villager being consumed by Oni energy. then a brave soldier fighting a hopeless battle, then a hopeful artist creating a song of defiance. This was her power, a narrative immersion that allowed her to live the story of the last 10 years and present it as a living, breathing reality. As she performed, Elias's roots snaked out, gently touching the ground. A new layer of reality shimmered in the air, a holographic tapestry of dates, locations, and events that aligned with Maya's performance. Elias's historical data was the framework. Maya's emotional resonance was the soul. Together, they told the story of a decade. The rise of Titan's Legion, the fractured rebellions, the battles, the heroes, and the countless lives lost and saved. They did not speak. The story was in their movements, in the hum of their combined flows. Kronos watched in silence. He saw the cold, efficient rise of the Legion. He saw the soulless machine fusion of Titan soldiers. But for the first time, he also felt the grief of those who were crushed by it. He saw the truth behind their logic, and it was a cold, brutal, and unfeeling world that he had once been a part of. Kairos, the analyst, was overwhelmed. He saw the pure, undeniable data in Elias's historical resonance, a timeline so complex that no computer could ever hope to replicate it. He saw the emotional truth in Maya's performance, and he knew, with a certainty he had never felt before, that the Legion had been wrong. This was a truth that was not on a monitor, but in the heart. By the time the story ended, the four of them were silent. Kronos and Kairos looked at each other, their emotional core laid bare. They had not been given a pitch or a plea. They had been given a new purpose and a new understanding of the world they were now in. This is the data we were missing, Kairos whispered, his probability pulsars now inert in his hands. He was no longer a soldier or a former agent. He was a seeker of truth, and he had just found it in a way he never expected. Kronos looked at Maya and Elias. He still did not trust them completely, but his voice, when he spoke, had lost its cold, clinical edge. I will help you. We will work together. We are no longer lost. The journey had truly begun. The alliance, built not on logic or force, but on the raw, undeniable truth of history, was born. The Discordant Verse. Chapter 4. The Architects of Time. Perspective. Kronos and Kairos. The Odyssey hung silent, a pearlescent teardrop against the sickly orange sky. Below, the city of chilling ballads stretched out, a sprawling nightmare of desolate farmlands and winding, lonely backroads, all saturated with a pervasive, melancholic hum. From his viewport, Kronos could see the source of the sorrow, a sprawling network of Oni-run farms, their fields filled not with crops, but with writhing, sentient tendrils that pulsed in time to the city's mournful song. The Oni, he noted, were a disciplined army, not a chaotic mob. A calm, modulated voice, Jaxon's, cut through his calm. Analysis complete. The city's hum is a low-frequency broadcast, a psychic resonance that drains the will. Its source is in the central spire. We're going in hot. Your abilities are our heavy ordnance, our only way through their hardened defenses. The Keeper's primary mission is to protect you. We're your fire support. Kronos ran the calculations in his mind. The plan was not one of his own design, but it was sound. Its core premise was simple. Use the most powerful tools available to crack the toughest nut. They were no longer the foot soldiers of a system. They were a precision instrument. Copy, Kronos responded, the word a clean, crisp echo in his own helm. He watched as the doors of the Odyssey's launch bay slid open, revealing the polluted, rust-colored sky. This was a direct assault, a violation of his old Legion protocols that would have dictated a much more cautious, methodical approach. But here, there was no time for that. He and Kairos dropped, two falling stars of matte gray and pristine white. The air shrieked past them, a discordant chorus of acoustic guitar strums and lonely, siren-like wails. The moment their boots touched the cracked asphalt of a lonely back road, Kronos activated his temporal gauntlets. The world around him did not stop. It simply blurred. The Oni soldiers, their grotesque, mechanized bodies thrumming with the city's rhythm, were frozen in a moment, their weapons still descending. Kronos and Kairos were a temporal shear, a precise cut in the timeline. They became ghosts in a physical world, their movements so fast they registered as a series of blinding, stuttering echoes. Kronos swept his hand forward, and a shimmering blue-green temporal lance shot from his gauntlet. It didn't just hit the nearest Oni. It aged its armor, turning gleaming black steel into rust and dust with a soft, quiet hiss. Kairos moved with him in a dance of lethal precision. His probability pulsars hummed with a low, energetic thrum. He was not shooting at the Oni. He was shooting at the air around them, creating, quote, probability holes, small pockets of improbability that caused the Oni's return fire to veer wildly off course. A sonic rocket, aimed at Kronos' head, suddenly arced in the air, a physics-defying turn that sent it smashing into a nearby building instead. From above, the Odyssey was a silent, high-altitude asset. On their comms, Jaxon's voice was a steady stream of data, a tactical advisor for a game of chess played at impossible speeds. Targeting systems online. They're trying to reacquire your signatures. Oniflow Commander is trying to rally the muted choir. You've got approximately 30 seconds until a full-scale assault. Understood, Kronos replied. He felt the hum of his temporal armor, a reassuring sensation that his mind was still intact, that his powers were working with a precision they never had in the chaos of the last saga. For a decade, he and Kairos had been lost, their powers useless in a world without order. Now, in a place defined by a single malevolent rhythm, their logical abilities were a force of nature, a symphony of logic and fire. Kronos looked at Kairos, whose visor glowed with a soft, ethereal light. They were two architects, working together, drawing the plans for their first coordinated victory. The Oni field commander, its body thrumming with rage and confusion, stood alone, the rest of its army scattered and in disarray. The mission was a success. It appears, Kronos said, a flicker of genuine respect in his voice, that our time has come. The phrase, a subtle nod to their new title as Guardians, hung in the air. He wasn't just speaking to Kairos. He was speaking to the entire team, the team that had worked to protect them. This new method, this unexpected alliance, was far more effective than the Legion's old ways. The journey had truly begun. The Discordant Verse. Chapter 5. The Vengeful Balladeer. Perspective. David. Part 1. The Sanctuary of Sorrow. This city is a song. Not a loud, boisterous anthem, but a slow, twanging ballad, played on a rusted steel string. I feel its every vibration. The low, mournful synth bass of the wind whistling through the hollowed-out window frames. The desolate, echoing ring of a forgotten church bell. The soft, shuffling rhythm of lost souls wandering the back roads. My feet are two metronomes, counting the perfect, predictable time. This is my grandest performance, a symphony of weaponized despair, and every note is a testament to the pain they gave me. I look at the fields, the vast stretches of dry, cracked earth. They say nothing grows here. They don't know that my lost loves are buried here, that I am the one who carefully planted the seeds of my sorrow. The sorrow is the crop, the pain is the fertilizer, and the melancholic hum in the air is the water that makes it all grow. The only flow, my gift, is the language I use to speak to them, to make my beautiful, terrible music. A new note enters my symphony, a discordant, wandering rhythm. I feel them before I see them, a solitary figure on the edge of my fields, a lonely wanderer with a heavy heart. My fingers instinctively go to the worn-out acoustic guitar slung over my back, the splintered wood and rusted strings a painful memory of a happier time. Now it is not an instrument, it is my bow, and my songs are the arrows I use to pierce the hearts of those who think they can escape. I strum a single melancholic chord. I don't need to see them to know their pain. I feel it through the music, through the Oni country flow that connects me to the sorrow of all things. I feel their loneliness, a low, aching hum in my own chest. I see their past, a quick-cut montage of betrayal and failure. I pick a few somber, twanging notes, and my internal monologue, my constant ballad begins. I know that look in your eyes. My melody is a mirror, reflecting their pain back to them with a malicious, external purpose. It's the same one I've seen on ghosts. They tell me of the weight they carry. I see their eyes glaze over, their will draining from them like blood from a wound. They are not a person anymore. They are a blank page, ready for me to write on. This is my power. I don't just destroy. I compose. Part 2. The dissonant signal. The serene, sorrowful atmosphere of my city is shattered. A jarring, alien note enters my symphony. A cold, clinical chord that defies my every principle. I don't feel anger. I feel confusion. These aren't victims. Their flow is a foreign rhythm, a discordant mechanical hum of logic and order that my music cannot comprehend. I watch them from a distance, hidden in my central spire. I see the temporal shear and the probability holes. I see their cold, unfeeling ballet, a display of force that is a complete contradiction to my belief that all things are driven by emotion and pain. I scoff. They think they can beat me with brute force? With cold, hard data? They are the soulless machines, the unfeeling algorithms that I fought to escape. I focus my power on them, my internal ballast shifting to a more targeted assault. I try to infect them with my despair, to poison their minds with the same sorrow that fuels me. I watch their movements, the precise, fluid dance of their fighting style. I weave a verse about a perfectly calibrated life that falls apart, about a machine that learns it has no heart. And for the first time, nothing happens. My music, my grand emotional weapon, fails to find its mark. Kronos and Kairos, the two architects of time, are a closed system, a logical paradox that my emotion cannot break. My song, which has brought entire armies to their knees, is useless against them. Then, the situation worsens. I feel a new, vibrant, and powerful flow enter my city. It is not an enemy. It is a contagion, a brilliant, blinding burst of pure, defiant hope that tears through my symphony of sorrow like a bullet through a spider's web. A new sound, a beautiful, horrifying melody, begins to cleanse my city. It is a song of healing, a song of life, a song of love, and it is a direct counter to my nihilistic core. My melody has been ruined. Part 3, The Coming Storm. The defeat of my field commander is not a loss. It is a profound insult. I am no longer melancholic. I am a furious, vengeful conductor whose symphony has been ruined by a single beautiful note. I look out at my city, at the ground that is no longer cracked and desolate but alive with a shimmering, iridescent light. My sorrow has been cleansed. My work has been undone. I can no longer be a subtle manipulator. The game has changed. I will no longer be a quiet, seething ghost. I will become a vengeful balladeer, a direct combatant who uses his music as a blunt instrument of pure, unadulterated rage. I look at my defeated army, and I feel nothing but contempt. They were too weak, too susceptible to my slow, sorrowful poisoning. They couldn't withstand the full frontal assault of hope. They deserved what they got. I pick up my guitar. The worn-out acoustic is now my anchor, my only connection to the world I once knew. My fingers, once so gentle, now tear at the strings. My voice, once a low, sorrowful hum, now rises to a roar. And with that roar of pure, unadulterated vengeance, I begin to compose a new song. A song not of sorrow, but of pure rage. A song that will turn my city into a living furnace of hate. They want a war? I will give them a symphony. And it will be a song of vengeance that will tear them to pieces. The Discordant Verse. Chapter 6. The Symphony of a Shattered Soul. Part 1. The Final Confrontation. Perspective, Keisha. The hum in the air had changed. It was no longer the melancholic strum of sorrow. It was a guttural, furious roar of pure, unadulterated rage. David, a man whose sorrow had once been a quiet, terrible hum, was now a towering engine of hate. A vengeful balladeer whose new song was a chaotic, physical assault. I could feel his fury like a physical blow, a direct assault on my very soul. He wasn't just a man anymore. He was a living wound, a being of pure, unhealed pain. I raised my hands, and my rainbow flow surged forward, not as a weapon but as a shield. It was a vibrant wall of light, a kaleidoscopic aura that pulsed with the colors of the spectrum. David's sonic onslaught, a wall of distorted, weaponized sound, crashed against it, and I felt the flow bend and stretch, absorbing and purifying the raw malice. He wasn't fighting me with logic. He was fighting me with pure emotion, with a hate so profound it almost drowned me. But a single thought, a line from a song I once knew, pulsed in my mind. I don't need to defeat him, Cher. I just need to remind him of the music he's forgotten. My voice, once a gentle hum, now rose into a powerful, resonating melody. I didn't try to counter his rage. I tried to find a single, compassionate note inside of it. From my perspective, I couldn't see the full scope of the battle. The movements of Kronos and Kairos were a terrifying, unpredictable blur, a series of flashes and temporal echoes that I couldn't follow. But I didn't need to. Their actions, their cold, precise logic, were creating an opening for me, a space for my emotion to enter. My faith was the bridge. All I had to do was cross it. Perspective. Oracle. The data was a living thing, screaming in my mind. David's new flow was a renegade algorithm, a powerful but primitive one, defined by its lack of control. I could see the patterns in his rage-fueled attacks, the same predictable spike in a rhythm he returned to again and again. It was a simple, elegant problem. All fire, no heat. He was giving off all the energy of a supernova, but its internal structure was collapsing. Jaxon, I calmed, my voice a calm hum, a counterpoint to the raging torrent of David's music. Give me a read on the energy signatures. I need a temporal baseline on his most powerful attacks. On it, Jackson's voice responded, a clean stream of data. He's repeating the same pattern of attack at a subtemporal level. It's like a looped song. The tempo increases, but the notes don't change. Rhea, I commanded, create an energetic firewall. Protect Keisha. She is a core asset. Elias, analyze his historical resonance. Look for a pattern, a moment, a single event that triggered this rage. We're not here to fight him. We're here to find the source of his pain. I saw the battle as a chess game, and I was the master player. Keisha's song was a psychological counterattack, a narrative poison that was slowly but surely infecting David's rage-fueled core. Kronos and Kairos, my two most powerful assets, were the pieces I would use for the checkmate. They were a perfectly calibrated machine of war. David was a closed system of rage and hate. He was a perfect target. Perspective, Kronos and Kairos. The rage-based flow was a simple puzzle. It was a chaotic physical assault. But unlike the chaos of the quantum genesis, it had a single, identifiable source, a deeply rooted trauma. Kronos used his temporal powers to create temporal echoes of their movements, ghostly images of their bodies that confused David and forced his rage to expend itself on empty targets. Kairos used his probability pulsars to subtly shift the odds, ensuring that David's most powerful, rage-fueled attacks were always met with an unexpected counter. We were a perfectly calibrated machine of war, a cold, elegant solution to a problem of emotional entropy. Temporal pulse is weakening, Kronos said, his voice a low hum. The echo is failing. He's adapting. The probability is still in our favor, Kairos replied, but his rage-fueled attacks are becoming statistically significant. We have to finish this now. We will, Kronos said. The logical point of entry is his emotional core. Oracle's team has found it. She has fed me a constant stream of data, and the data is clean. She has found the one weakness in his system. We moved as one. Kronos created a temporal weak point in the fabric of reality itself, a single moment that David returned to over and over again, a moment of profound, unhealed trauma. Kairos, using his probability pulsars, fired a single shot into that temporal weak point. It didn't destroy David, it neutralized him. He was no longer a person. He was a single, repeated moment of pain. His rage, a physical force that had consumed him, turned back on itself, and the rage-fueled psychic assault on the city turned inward, consuming him in a maelstrom of his own making. He retreated. His body, once a living monument to rage, became a cacophony of shattered thoughts, and his flow, a beautiful, terrible symphony of hate, was silenced. Part 2. The healing and the hint. Perspective, Keisha. The silence was not a stillness, but a profound peace. The rage was gone, replaced by a deep, quiet sadness. I could feel David's defeat not as a victory, but as a tragedy. He had not been a monster, but a victim who had chosen to become one. Exhausted but resolute, I began the healing process. My rainbow flow, once a shield, was now a gentle, restorative energy, washing over the broken city and the defeated Oni, cleansing the corrupted energy of the space. I looked at my new teammates, at Kronos and Kairos, who stood silently, their weapons now inert in their hands. They were not cold machines. They were partners in healing. They had used their logic to create a space for my emotion to work. And in that moment, my trust in them became absolute. The journey had shown me that both logic and emotion were necessary to mend a world. That harmony was not just the absence of discord, but the active combination of all its elements. Perspective, David, defeated, humiliated. My mind, once a symphony of rage, was now a cacophony of shattered thoughts. The beautiful, terrible rage that had been my only companion was gone, replaced by a cold, lonely quiet. My flow was failing, my body consumed by my own defeat. In my final moments, as I felt my consciousness fading, a voice whispered to me. It was a soft, melodic voice that soothed my rage and promised a final form of vengeance. The voice belonged to the Queen of Oniflow, and she had been watching. Your sorrow was a beautiful song, she whispered, but your rage is a melody I can use. Your defeat is not a loss, little balladeer. It is a new data point for my grand symphony of chaos. I will give you a power that will consume all hope. You will be my final beautiful crescendo. Her voice was a promise, a final beautiful chord that would set the stage for a new, more terrifying song. I was not defeated. I was reborn. Part 3. The journey continues. Perspective. Oracle. The data is clean. The alliance is stable. I look at my team. At Keisha, whose rainbow flow is cleansing the city. At Kronos and Kairos, whose temporal and probabilistic abilities have created a stable reality for her to work in. They are a diverse group of beings, from different backgrounds and with different ideologies, all united by a single purpose. The journey to the Wu-Tang headquarters is no longer a search for allies. It is a pilgrimage to our new home. The final lines of this chapter will show the group, now a single, cohesive unit, leaving the city of chilling ballads behind, guided by the promise of a new, more powerful, and ultimately more dangerous fight to come. We are a symphony of logic and fire, of healing and hope, and we have just begun.
So I'm sitting here with ghosts again. Some are women, mostly men, telling me of times they have had. And I'm fantasizing about a hole in the ground, how and where I'm gonna lay myself down and still die at 27 like we've planned. And she saw the look in my eyes and began to sing a song I won't describe. In another life we'll be king and queen, you and I. She told me, devil, don't cry.
Devil, don't cry. Don't cry. I know things get tough and sometimes you wanna die, but God needs an enemy and I need a guide. She told me, devil, don't cry, at least not tonight.
So I'm sitting alone again. All my friends are with their friends, thinking of times I have had. And I'm fantasizing about a hole in the ground, how and where I'm gonna lay myself down, and I find a knife in my hand. And she saw the look in my eyes and began to sing a song I won't describe. In another life we'll be king and queen, you and I. And she told me, devil, don't cry.
Devil, don't cry. Don't cry. I know things get tough and sometimes you wanna die, but God needs an enemy and I need a guide. She told me, devil, don't cry. Devil, don't cry. Don't cry. I know things get tough and sometimes you wanna die, but God needs an enemy and I need a guide. She told me, devil, don't cry, at least not tonight. Tonight, let's not pretend a thing. This earth and its creatures are the ugliest we've seen, and the human machine cannot contain this love. So we die, let's just meet at our place up above.
Devil, don't cry. Don't cry. I know things get tough and sometimes you wanna die, but God needs an enemy and I need a guy. She told me, devil, don't cry. And she told me, devil, don't cry. And she told me, devil, don't cry.